Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. Strangle your demons and let's go.
Y'all need Jesus!
Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. I am your host, Eric Hellberg, and you know we're like Einstein over here, men. Certainly not in brain power, just that we are passionately curious about all things pertaining to men. How in the hell did we get here, and where is it that we want to go? Last episode, wrapping up last week, was freedom of action. Now we're going to go into a man's overarching purpose, and we're going to be succinct because it's not really that difficult and we don't need to belabor the subject. But let me put out some mentions here before we get going further. Obviously, in CONUS in the continental United States, we have the preponderance of our listeners. Canada keeps increasing. They're just a freedom-loving people like us. They're tired of Trudeau. They're tired of, in fact, that whole damn family, the dad, the crazy mom, and they want to change. Then, of course, right behind Canada, we now have Belgium. And I think those guys just stay drunk, and they're liberty-loving people as well, and they listen to us have our discourse, and they're passing it around. Then we have India, and we know we've got some badass fighters in India, and they're fighting all those extremists up there in Kashmir. No one does it better than those guys. And then, what caught me by surprise, Russia. Russia is the 5th largest group listening to this show. Well, it doesn't make me a Putin sympathizer. It just simply makes me someone who has deliberated on the facts. And if any other army and or forces were massed on our border, whether it be to the north, whether it be to the south, hey, act like the cartels don't exist, right? That's not a force that's impugning our American freedom and infiltrating us with fentanyl and weapons and bad people coming over here doing all sorts of bad things. Just listen to the news when they report it. But we would act very much the same if we had an enemy at our doorstep. So, since I've mentioned that, it looks like our listenership over there has grown. So be it. If it worked for Tucker Carlson, I guess it can work for us as well, right? And hey, if you support Ukraine, here's all I got to tell you. Just direct messenger me on Facebook, respond to the website on my show. I'll put you in touch with Roland Bartesco, and you can be on the front lines in Ukraine. I'll give you his Gmail email address. He'll have you there in 2 weeks, and you can go espouse a little bit of freedom. All right. That being said, the episode was called Freedom of Action, and a man has to have freedom of action, or else he can never pursue his overarching purpose. Your overarching purpose can certainly evolve, but you must be constantly pointed toward it, much like a compass. So let's go back to good old Sarasota, Florida. And you're like, what in the fuck are you talking about today, Eric? Here's what I'm talking about. A baby elephant gets brought into the circus. And you know how they trained and made these beasts we know as elephants that have incredible power? They're also incredibly smart. And you say, well, how could a smart person become like this? Or how could this befall an intelligent being? I'll tell you how. They get a baby elephant. They drive a stake into the ground. And did you know a baby elephant, left to its own device, will tug against that metallic stake? But the stake is usually put in 3 to 4 feet. The elephant has a chain on one leg. And as it grows while it is being staked, it starts to learn that those attempts are futile. And did you know by the time that a circus elephant is fully grown, that the very fact that it had remained shackled, it had lost all of its God-given instinct, its God-given desire, and that it had become totally servile. They discovered in the circus that by doing that action, that once fully grown and repeatedly pulling up against that stake, that a full-grown bull elephant would no longer even attempt to pull. It had tried and tried over time, and when it couldn't get anywhere and or change the situation, it simply gave up. No more freedom of action and no more attempt to pursue its overarching purpose. Now, of course, you must define what that is for you. And of course, we have to be able to move into the realms of what we can control and what we cannot control, because what we cannot control is infinite. We can only control ourselves. And in doing so, we must constantly be pointed north and continue that pursuit. So begrudge me here, man. Let's talk about some of those things outside of our realm of control. And let's go to the sordid world of Charles Bukowski. Loving, hating, old American poet, a little bit radical. That meant that, since he talked about things he wasn't supposed to talk about, the FBI kept a file on him that would have been good old J. Edgar Hoover while he was wearing his mom's panties and his sister's dress and slapping men on the ass while he was there in Washington, D.C. And of course, he's still the namesake of the good old FBI. Just is what it is. Here we go. What did Charles Bukowski say? Pull a string, a puppet moves. Each man must realize that it can all disappear very quickly. The cat, he loved cats. The woman, the job that you count on, right? Gives you validation, your identity. The front tire, hopefully it's, not a steering tire that blows when you're cruising. The bed, the walls, the room, all our necessities, including love, rest on foundations of sand. And any given cause, no matter how unrelated, the death of a boy in Hong Kong or a blizzard in Omaha can serve as your undoing. We're living in a house of cards, man. There are many things that we cannot control. And let's talk about that blizzard in Omaha. The good old Oracle of Omaha. Who's that? Warren Buffett? The good old elderly statesman licking his ice cream cone. Have you ever noticed how many times Bill Gates and our politicians and Warren Buffett go around in nice fluffy sweaters and they lick ice cream cones? That makes them look peaceful, doesn't it? It makes them look harmonious. They care about us. I think we know different now. Good old rich Warren Buffett, he'll poo-poo the Keystone Pipeline, but he'll say, carry all the raw materials via my railways. Give all your money to the good old traditional markets. Just buy and hold. Let Wall Street play with it while you wait till you're 70 to get a hold of it. And we'll give you a tax benefit. Do not be fooled by men appearing so pious and proper. They'll gut you every single time. But what is Bukowski saying? You can't control a lot of things. Ultimately, time is fleeting. These bodies and minds become more feeble, and you can never stop going after, as a man, your overarching sense of purpose. And that will develop over time, especially as you take a spouse, you have a family, you move in and about the world. But I would venture to tell you that is one of the biggest conundrums for a man. how do you handle all these things? Not miss out and stop pursuing. Well, I will tell you, you learn to put the Lord first. You strive toward that. You pursue that purpose. You articulate it to your loved ones around you. But you never let that purpose be the woman in your life. And you're like, how in the can that be, Eric? That's not what society tells us. Oh, I know. Society tells you romantic love. And it is a wonderful thing. But you're here, aren't you? Did your parents or whoever made you have romantic love, their parents before them? Their parents before them, that wasn't that long ago. But yet you're still here. You're listening to this. I'm still here and I'm talking, right? The only thing that has changed is that more things have come between you and your overarching sense of purpose. And or maybe you have made those things the sense of purpose and or your direction. Well, that's a futile quest that has no end. If two people, and primarily spouses, dad and children, mother and children, cannot just simply sit together and be content without another thing being given and or received, what is that really? Your relationship should not be about things. In fact, no thing, meaning nothing, should come between you. That is the accrual and expression of real love. We have made life about things. And I am going to venture to tell you, now left to his own device, a man intrinsically gets this. Where we get confused, befuddled, is typically with our spouse and or our significant other. It is either our greatest asset and or our greatest liability. And I'm going to tell you that most women want a man who is on his shit. He's got it together. Just listen to Dr. Orion Terabon, Psychax. What a woman wants, and also it is derived from what a man truly wants, is to be on that shit. To have a mission, to pursue his drive and purpose. The woman wants to reap the fruits of that. You become functionally inoperable if you as a man make that woman your mission, drive, and purpose. It cannot work. It is unsustainable. And it will lead to resentment and a totally different view of how that lady looks upon you. Moreover, it will give you an entirely different internal view of how you look upon yourself. It is wholly unnatural. So what is it that you should do? You can have a woman, your woman, right there by your side. But it was your ambition, your drive, and your purpose that got her there to begin with. Should you make her the center of your life and do a stupid thing, that will be thwarted. Everything else will be circumvented. And if she is asking for that, then she is belying her own true nature, because that is not what got her there by asking you to dispense with yours. Become that tree, man. A tree, as it grows bigger and stronger, and it takes time. You're not going to get there hey, let's go ahead and forget about getting to 20 years old, right? You've got a familial benchmark there. But you're not going to get there at 30. You're not going to get there at 40. You may start getting some really thick branches by the time you're in your 40s and 50s. We'll use it to provide her shelter. Use it to cover over her. But let your fruit and the process governing that accrues it be the love that drops from those branches, and dispense it in that way. Do not curtail yourself. That is your role as a man, and how you go about your overarching sense of purpose. So until next time on the Comfortable in Chaos podcast, I bid you bon voyage, my burgeoning flock.
Until next time, like and subscribe to the Comfortable in Chaos podcast.